Hello, humanity. This is your nutrition coach coming in for your Sunday check-in. And today I am going to talk about something that is super important to your nutrition. Probably one of the most important parts of it, if not the most important part. And that is your habits surrounding your nutrition. Most of you have probably tried to establish eating healthy habits at one time in your life, and you may have succeeded or you may have failed. And if you failed, a lot of you get super, super frustrated because you're like, why the heck did that happen? I don't understand what I did. I had a perfect plan and I was going to eat my veggies. I was going to do my lean protein. I meal prepped. I had this awesome system. I created a calendar and a schedule and to-do lists and everything, right? And then I've talked about this before. You guys create this awesome plan, and maybe you make it a week, maybe you make it 2 or 3 weeks, and then something happens and it all goes to crap. And then maybe you're fortunate enough that you had created enough of a system where you could pick up where you left off, or oftentimes we fail completely and then we just go back to our normal way of eating because it was easier. And I want you guys first to understand this is actually not your fault. And I'm not trying to not have you take ownership for your situation, but I'm not in the position where I want to make people feel bad about if they have failed, because you guys are fighting a very hard system to overcome. Our brains are hardwired for habits. Our brains really like when we have systems because it makes it easier for our brains to then focus on other things. So it's kind of like how you might find that it's Saturday and you start to drive to the grocery store and you end up halfway on your way to work. And by the time you realize what you're doing, you're halfway there, right? And you're like, what the heck? How'd that happen? Oh, excuse me. It's because our brains are hardwired to repeat patterns. And it makes it easier for then our brains to focus on other things. So we can't think of every single action that we do every single moment of every single day, because then our brain would not have the capacity to think about other things and, contemplate all the other life things that are happening, right? Like you can't worry about taking your kid to the doctors if you have to think about and consciously communicate to yourself every single thing from, get out of bed, put your slippers on, go to the bathroom. If you think about all of the things that you do on automatic pilot every day, if you had to consciously tell yourself to do those things, it would be impossible. You'd be like so consumed with all of that every single day that you wouldn't be able to do anything else. So our brain, when we do a behavior over and over again, develops this association and thinks whether it's a good behavior or a bad behavior, it thinks that it is something that we should be doing. And so it kind of puts you on remote control. And then all of a sudden you're doing that thing whether you're conscious of it or not. And a lot of those things that we do are associated with our neurotransmitters, dopamine and serotonin. So you feel good when you do them. If you are a nail biter and you get anxious or stressed and you have bitten your nails to manage your anxiety, that's a way for you to regulate how you're feeling, and you downregulate that anxiety. So now every time you get anxious, you have to bite your nails. And it works across the board with pretty much anything that we do, especially habits directly related to dopamine. And our brains are hardwired for that dopamine response, and instant gratification is such a great way to get an instant dopamine hit that when we have a behavior that feels good, we are going to probably repeat it over and over again because it feels good. I recently learned that the act of the behavior isn't even when we get the dopamine hit. It's when it's the anticipation of that act that the dopamine comes into play. So even before you're going to bite your nails, you're starting to relax yourself because you're anticipating that I'm going to feel better when I start biting my nails. And the same happens with your food. So if you're someone who is a self-soother with a snack mid-afternoon when you're tired and anxious from work, and you go home and the first thing that you do is you go into the cupboard and get a snack that is maybe higher in sugar and carbohydrates and fat, and you start to eat that, now you're anticipating, oh, when I eat this snack, I'm going to feel better. And of course you do. So you have this automatic reward for this habit. So it's a very complicated system. But what I want to talk to you guys today about is how do we manage that system, and how do we create habits that align with what we're actually saying we want out of life. Now, sidestep to that, or side note to that, is I'm learning a whole lot about habits and mindset. And one of the things that I've learned that I really, really like is it's the process, not the end result, that we're actually wanting. And the process for nutrition sets us up to have lifelong success with maintaining our body weight and having good health. The goal, initially, say you come to me and, I'm a nutrition coach, right? So you're like, Shauna, I want to lose 20 pounds. So you have this idea in your mind that, when I get to 140 pounds or, lose 20 pounds or whatever, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to be happy, et cetera, et cetera. So when we take away that goal and we talked about just the process is really what you want. You don't necessarily need to be 140 pounds. You want to be healthy. You want to move well. You want to feel good in your clothes. You want to be able to keep up with your kids, things like that, right? So the goal itself, the weight doesn't matter. It's the process to get there that is the important part, especially when it comes to your nutrition. And the process is all about building sustainable habits that you can replicate every single day, that make you feel good, that are relatively easy, and set you up for success no matter where you are. So I'm going to talk to you about how you want to build out those habits, how to start small, how to get yourself a little bit of a dopamine with those good habits so that you want to replicate them. Because the other part of this is, if you have, say you want to start eating more vegetables in your diet, and you want to get in the habit of eating more vegetables, but you make yourself miserable by creating steamed broccoli every night with dinner, you're not going to want to, unless you love steamed broccoli, you're not going to want to do that for the rest of your life because you're miserable, right? And why would you want to have a miserable habit as part of your life? The reason that you brush your teeth every day is because you've gotten in the habit and you like how your teeth feel nice and clean before you go to bed. You like your fresh breath. You like not having to have fillings every 6 months from the dentist, right? So you have these positive associations to this little thing that you did. But if your toothpaste tasted like dirt every time and made your mouth feel horrible, you wouldn't do it because you have a negative association with this habit, right? So it's the same thing with your eating. Eating healthy, eating consistently good foods that nourish your body needs to be a pleasant experience. If it's a miserable experience, you're not going to stick with it. So that's the first habit that I want to instill in you, and I want you to work towards, is figuring out what small changes you can make in your diet, in your day-to-day eating, that are pleasurable that set you up for success. And I always, I tease my clients that I have a bunch of adult children because a lot of people don't really like to eat vegetables at all. And so here I am telling them that I need them to eat 3 to 5 servings a day, and they don't want to. And again, because they have that negative association a lot of times as kids, and then compounded by their experience with vegetables as adults has not been pleasant. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to eat a gross vegetable either. I wouldn't want to eat a vegetable I didn't like. When I eat vegetables, I eat things I enjoy. I put them in my eggs. I put them on my pizza. I put them in my pasta. I love salads. But I don't put veggies in there that I don't like. I don't care for mushrooms. So I'm not going to put mushrooms in my salad. I put the things that I really enjoy in there. And then I put some treats in there too to make my salad delicious. Like I put croutons and cheese, and I have a favorite salad dressing that I use. So when you guys, your first habit that I want you to build out is I want you to look at your current eating system. And I want you to contemplate what small changes, just tiny little changes, could I make tomorrow that I know would be healthier for me, but could still be pleasurable. And maybe it's you transition from, maybe you have a habit of eating a bunch of chocolate at night and it's milk chocolate. Maybe you could transition to a darker chocolate to start so it doesn't have as much sugar in it. Or maybe you could, instead of the full fat ice cream, you could have the low fat ice cream, and you could also, have like something, maybe a cup of fruit with it, so that you're getting some nutrients combined with your ice cream. And if you eat your fruit first, and then you're like, as a reward for eating my fruit, which most people don't mind fruit anyways, but as a reward for eating your fruit, then you get to eat your ice cream. Or figuring out, like, maybe you have a tendency to eat a really high sugar muffin for breakfast, and you recognize that you eat the muffin and then an hour later you don't feel very good and you're hungry again. So could you have an alternative for that muffin in the morning that is you still enjoy eating, but maybe it has a little bit more protein in it so that you stay full longer, and maybe it has a little bit more nutrients in it, and then you don't have that crash and you make it to lunch. And for that, you could have, like, maybe you find a breakfast burrito, a frozen breakfast burrito that is, relatively clean, meaning it doesn't have a ton of preservatives and things like that in it. Or maybe you have a couple frozen waffles with some cut up strawberries on it. There are lots of little changes that you can make every single day that can be pleasurable for your diet, but will also set you up to cut down on calories that we refer to as empty, meaning they're things that are not providing your body with nourishment, and they're setting you up to be hungry faster, or they're not giving you the energy you need throughout the day. So, are there changes you can make to get the nourishment that you need, but so that you still enjoy your food? And then what happens is you start making these tiny little tweaks, and as you see that they're pleasurable, you start to contemplate, are there other little changes that I can make? And it sounds silly, and I know that you probably see it on TV a lot, like, the cliche, can you take the stairs instead of taking the elevator, things like that. But it really is true. There's a cool, I don't remember his name, but it was a guy in the 70s, I think it was the 70s, that looked at the British cycling team and wanted to help them become world champions. And instead of seeing if there was some massive change that he could make on the team, he just looked at all of the little things that he could do to make a difference. And it's referred to as the 1% change. So he went through and he made all of these small changes in their performance, in their, the uniforms that they wore, their bicycles, all of these little tiny changes. And what happens is, one little change by itself didn't make that much difference, but compounded, it made a huge difference. And he ended up helping them become world champions. So it's the same thing with you guys with your health and your fitness. Little changes add up over time to big changes. And I work really hard with my clients. I don't want people to try to 180 out and make these massive differences in their lives. I want you guys to look at where you are now and figure out what tiny changes you could make that might add up over time. And it's also, you won't get discouraged as easy if you make small changes, because it's super frustrating if we decide we're going to, start eating 3 meals a day with salad and cut out all of this crap. And then a week later, you've lost a pound and you spent a week being miserable. You spent a week, saying, I'm not going to go out with friends. I'm not going to have any drinks. I'm not enjoying any of this. And then I put in all of this work and I only, see this minute change. And then you want to give up, which I wouldn't blame you. Who can blame you? So what if instead of trying to make all these massive changes, what if you looked to see how you could just make small changes and still enjoy the life you live? And then a week from now, maybe you haven't lost a pound. Maybe you've only lost a quarter pound, but it's sustainable because you're like, oh, I could do this for another 4 weeks or another 3 weeks, and now I've lost a full pound, but now this lifestyle is something that I'm willing to adopt long term, and I don't hate it. Versus, again, if you hate what you're trying to do, you make yourself do it, maybe you're successful in the short term, but as soon as you've reached that goal, which I would like to encourage you to realize that the ultimate weight loss is not the goal. The ultimate goal is to have healthy eating habits for life. But say, you went super strict, and then, you lose that 20 pounds, but you hated it. So you're not going to stick with it. And then as soon as you reach your goal, you're probably going to go back to how life was when it was enjoyable, because it was enjoyable, because we get this one life and we don't want to be miserable. This is the start of a series that I'm going to do, and I'm going to teach you guys how to make small changes in your life every single day to set you up for success. And my focus is primarily health and fitness, but it applies to all parts of your life. If there is something that you have been wanting to work on or achieve or change in your life, the easiest way to make those changes is to create small habits that build up over time, rather than trying to make massive changes that potentially set you up for failure. So I'm going to leave you with a quote that I got from a book that I'm reading right now that is amazing. It's Atomic Habits by James Clear. And the quote is, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits." And if you follow me on Instagram, it was when I posted a couple days ago, but it's a quote that I very much like, and very much want you guys to remember. It isn't about ultimately your goals. It's about the day-to-day habits that you have created every single day. And when you have good habits that are easy to manage and enjoyable, you set yourself up for success. All right, team, that's it for this week. If you have questions, comments, if you need help with anything, you know how to find me on a million different platforms. I hope you guys are all doing amazing, and I will see you next Sunday.